Hey everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'd like to share with you all the 482 visa costs that we incurred and how much our entire application costs, what we did beforehand, and yeah, just break down all of the different things we had paid for in South Africa before actually arriving in Australia. And hopefully that assists with you planning and making your move with just knowing the upfront costs. But obviously with the exchange rate at the moment, your costs may be different. Your costs may also be different based on the visa type you have. This is specific to the 482 medium term visa that we got sponsored for, and these were the costs, which include our entire family. So it's myself, my husband, and our 2 toddlers. I hope you find that helpful. Let's get into it. Also, in this past week, so Western Australia has just a high alert for bushfires, which we did not realize or know about before coming. And last week, because the weather has been so high recently, we are in summer now and it's been really hot, bushfires are more likely to happen. I don't know the exact research on this, so I don't know much to share with you guys about bushfires, but we got a text message. So if a bushfire is happening close to where you live, you get a text message from the state telling you to evacuate your home, and they'll let you know when it's safe to return. We got one of those messages because the bushfire was happening really close to where we are, and luckily though it didn't affect our community, and the response team was really efficient and put all of that out in a safe way. Nonetheless, I just started the conversation with my husband, like, God forbid if that ever did affect us, what would we do, you know? And he was like, we just need to have all of our stuff in order. We need to know our most essentials. And that just got me prepared in a way that I didn't want to be prepared in, but I am now. Like, I put all of our important documents in a easily accessible place, and that goes without saying. I should have done this, you know, but anyway, it's done now. And while doing all of that paperwork, sorting and going through, I came across our 482 visa paperwork and our flights and all of that. So I thought that I would just break down the costs on a piece of paper and actually have a look at it for myself and share it with you guys. If you are making the move from South Africa to Australia, these are the upfront costs that we incurred as a family. And yeah, hopefully that you find that helpful. Let's get into it. So in today's video, I will be sharing the documents that we needed to supply, the visa application, medicals, trade recognition assessment, English tests, shipping a container, flights, and private health insurance. For documents, we needed 2 police clearances, one for myself and one for my husband, and that cost 160 Rand each. We used a private service provider who handled delivering our fingerprints to Pretoria and sending it back to us once they had received it, and they just make sure that it's checked before actually sending it back to us, like with the correct names and numbers, because sometimes that is wrong. And yeah, so we decided to go with that. They were actually recommended to us when we did our fingerprints at the police station by the police officer, which was good because we didn't know about the service provider outside of that encounter. Yeah, so we used a service provider and that cost was 900 Rand. We needed passports. For myself and my husband, we renewed our passports, and then our little ones, we got them 2 new passports, and those were $400 each for the 4 of us. We also needed an unabridged marriage certificate, and that was 75 Rand. So we had applied for the marriage certificate, and they said that it takes about 3 months for you to get it back. We went back in 3 months and it wasn't ready, so we just got the normal marriage certificate. Still, I haven't gotten the unabridged, so that total was like 110 Rand. The visa application was $3,035 Australian dollars, which equates to 37,473 Rand and 30 cents. Our medicals came up to 9,889 Rand and 45 cents. This covered myself getting medical, our 2 babies getting their medicals, and my husband had to go for 2 medicals, one for his new employer and one for the visa application. So this includes all of that, and also he needed to do a biometric assessment. So the total of that was 9,889 Rand and 45 cents. The medicals before going was a bit stressful, but actually doing it wasn't stressful at all. For the babies, they are super gentle, and it's a really basic check for them. It's actually a basic check for me as well. The only thing that I had to do different from them was a chest x-ray. But other than that, they just check your height, your weight, you fill in a form, and they check your eyes and ears. And that's it. We both did English tests. We opted for IELTS, and that cost us 4,600 Rand each. We shipped a container, and the shipping of the container and the insurance, this was a group each container. So I had about 7 boxes in there, which was 38,000 Rand. Our flights came to 140,563 Rand and 19 cents. This was from Pietermaritzburg to Johannesburg, Johannesburg to Mauritius, Mauritius to Western Australia. So it was 3 flights. We broke it up like that because we were traveling with 2 toddlers, and yeah, they just needed the rest time, the play time, and between flights, which worked really well for us. Yeah, so that was our total travel. And side note, if you are traveling with toddlers, try to book the longest flight in the evening. I did this and it worked out really well because it was their nighttime routine anyway, so they slept for the 7 hours from Mauritius to Western Australia. Private health insurance we needed to get before coming over. So you choose, the visa they gave us the option to choose our own healthcare provider based on what we could afford. And I found that was really great because then you can go and do cost comparing and just choose which one works for you. We did that, and what happened was they charge you an initial amount for joining, and they only start the medical aid once you arrive. So once you arrive, you'll phone them and say, hey, I'm here, and then they start billing you. So you continue with this premium that you paid at the onset only when you get here. And that was 352 Australian dollars, which equates to 4,346 Rand and 16 cents. Total cost in South African rands of everything that I just told you was 282,024 Rand and 73 cents. Now, our visa is sponsored by my husband's employer, so they covered the visa costs, and they covered our flights and our container. And so the costs covered by the sponsorship was 216,036 Rand and 49 cents. Total cost paid upfront by us, not covered, not reimbursed, was 65,988 rand and 24 cents. So 65,000, maybe 66,000 rand was probably what we knew that we would have to have with us going into the visa application, all at different times. Like, you would pay the document process at a certain time, you do the English test and pay for that at a certain time. So these costs all aren't at the same time, but they are definitely needed before you begin the visa application. The biggest amount that we paid was the trades recognition assessment, but this was broken up into two parts. So once you pass the first assessment, my husband did this, so he converted his trade in South Africa to be recognized by Australia, and that was our biggest cost of 39,622 rand. But with that, you pay for the document part of it. I think that was like $2,000, the first part. And once they approve and say, hey, go ahead and do the next thing, then you pay for the next part of that assessment. So yeah, that was the only thing. But our application was also handled by an immigration lawyer chosen by his employer, which made the process a lot easier on our end in terms of handling all of the paperwork and knowing how to fill it out. I've heard that it's pretty simple, that you could navigate the documents on your own. For me, I definitely preferred having somebody else do it, just having that extra knowing that they really fine combing through each line, and if there's anything that we've missed, they come back and tell us. Yeah, so also another thing I would recommend is, if you aren't using an immigration attorney, consider using an immigration agent. They just give you a lot more detail on the visa options available to you if you have all of your paperwork in order, if you have your qualifications, and they give you a lot more options that are open, especially if you're coming abroad as a family. Yeah, so these were all of the costs that we incurred. I hope you find that helpful, and thank you for watching, and I wish you every success if you are a family making the move to Australia from South Africa. It's gonna be wonderful, though the process might seem long. It took us an entire year from him getting his interview to me and the kids joining him in Australia. It took us 1 whole year to get that whole process done and be here. Yeah, so the process might seem long, but trust me, it's been worth it for us. And even those costs that we incurred by ourselves, we don't regret any of it. The type of lifestyle that you will be living here is very different from South Africa, but it's so much, you'll benefit a lot from it, especially if you have children. And our children have just loved the move, they love the new place, they love the country. And yeah, I wish you well, but also remember that this was our 482 visa process. Yours may be different based on what you negotiate with your sponsorship. If you are getting sponsored, yours may be different with the type of routes you may choose. Like we chose IELTS, you could choose PTE for your English test, which may be cheaper. It's just a lot of options available to you. Do your research before saying yes to something. Do your research before doing any sort of application process. Just do your research and yeah, double check, triple check. And one other thing, for me, I found that making the move from South Africa to Australia is a huge transition, and you cannot even understand the magnitude of the move until you've made it, until you are here. I would say that both partners, husband and wife, need to be on the same page. You guys need to want this both individually for yourselves and together as a family for it to work, for it to be absolutely wonderful. And yeah, just clear communication. I pray you every success. May the hand of God be upon your application, be upon your family as you travel, be upon every part of this process for you. And man can plan his ways, but God ultimately plans the path. So I pray that God be with you through this, be with you when you arrive. And I hope you find this video helpful, and if you did, please subscribe to the channel. I would love to grow this YouTube channel to a community channel and share just more insights that I've learned, that I am living, and what this journey has looked like for me and my family. And yeah, sending you love, sending you peace. See you in my next one.